So fellas, this is the UMI control arm reinforcement kit. They came bare metal, and I can't be growing up in Wisconsin and everything rusting like crazy. I couldn't just put these in, so I hit them with some paint, Rust-Oleum. It ain't gonna stop the rust, but it'll stop or slow it down plenty. So what you got is you got these 8 plates. These two go up under the bottom of the car. It mounts to the floor pan, and your control arm bolt comes through here. This is the outside. Put that nut on there. You don't snug it down yet. You just kind of get her. Don't give her the ugga-duggas yet. Get it snug, and then like I said, it'll be like this. The floor pan will be here. I'm trying to do this with one hand, and then this one will go about like so. You got to get the holes lined up. So when you put it in, you got that hole in the reinforcement, the floor pan, so, where the control arm goes and all that. You got that pocket. So what you do is put this in. You kind of got to finagle it in. Put it in, and then once you get it in, you can see these 2 holes from the bottom. So you drill those 2 holes. Put the nuts and bolts on that are provided by UMI. And then you put this on the top, because you can see those 2 holes. So you'll be able to drill them out, and then you can get your other 2 holes. You have to drill these 2 from the top, because you can't get at them from the bottom. Drill them, but you can't get them at them from the bottom to put the nuts and bolts on. So nuts and bolts go on like so. And then I'm trying to do all this with one hand. And the ones that I've done, I just tack a couple of beads around the outside of it, and then hit it again with some rattle can paint just to keep it from getting crazy rusty. And then these go for these are for the lower control arms on the front. These are for the upper control arms at the front, where they attach to the body. And these go in the bottom. And there's already like 2 spaces for these, or where the sheet metal is. You can see these where these mount. Drill those 2 holes, and then you drill these 2 holes, if I remember correctly. And I'll show you a video when I get it all done too. And then these 2 holes are what's going to go through here. So you run your bolts up from the bottom, and then you'll be able to get the other 2 holes for these guys. Like I said, I think it's these 2 here, obviously. But I'll do a video once it's all done, so you can get the idea. It's pretty simple. It's just like everything, a little time consuming, and but it does help. You don't want to tear the mounts out of your floorboard, because that's a whole lot more expensive to repair than putting these in up front. And these are going in the Capri today, so hopefully I can get these in. I'll probably have to get either the bride or else Vincent to come out and help when he gets done work this afternoon, because it is kind of a 2-person job, to hold the bolt on the bottom and then turn the nut at the top. But anyway, that's all. I'll finish this up when I get the rest of it done later. All right, guys, I got the forward lower one in on the Capri, and then I realized I forgot to tell you. You see how that hole is a little bit offset from center? This is the passenger side one, so it means it can only go, on the passenger side, and because it's offset, that's how the hole is for the forward control arm bolt in relation to the pocket. So once you put it in, you kind of go in like so, and then up, and then turn it and put it in. I'm sure that was completely out of picture, but here you go again. Put this end in first, put it up like so. This is horrible. And then twist it as you get it up inside. Like I said, make sure the one that's going to the back, is compared to the, you'll see. I'm butchering this trying to explain it. And the other thing, the control arm, this is the new Team Z one. You always want to compare it to the control arm you took out, unless your bushings are completely destroyed. As this was a V6 car that was on street tires its whole life. They're actually in pretty good shape, and they are the more desirable ones of these factory control arms, because they got the small round bushing versus the big egg-shaped one. If you put poly bushings in these, and then kind of weld the bottom, provided you're not using a roll bar. They're actually fairly decent, but they don't have the adjustability. So you want to get these close. You know, I think it was 17 5/8 center to center, so that's what I made this one the same. Just a plain old tape measure works to get you in the ballpark. It's not like rocket science. I was fortunate, the shop where I worked at before, we always kept an eye on the guys next door to us because they always had money to blow on stuff. But one day I went down there and they were going to throw this thing away. Obviously I couldn't let that happen, so I saved it. But this is handy for once I get it in the car and I'm double checking. You can do the side to side. Make sure both control arms are the same, you know, from front to back, and that they're you know, adjusted the same. And then once you get them in, you know, you got to make sure the rear end is centered, but you use the upper control arms for that. So anyway, it's going together, and like I said, I just saw this, was reminded of this. I didn't point it out the first time. And these are the right holes for on the UMI. The ones I had in Stupor Trooper were some cheapy ones I got off eBay, and they're not directly above each other. They're one, I think the lower one's offset a little bit, so that's what was throwing me off. But anyway, got UMI ones going in here. They're the better. The ones I got off eBay seem like a thinner, slightly thinner, a little cheaper metal. But I'm a UMI fanboy, I guess. I like them best. So anyway, got to get back at it later. All right, fellas. So I'm partially done. I got this plate on here. I haven't bolted it down, but I wanted to show you. Put the bracket here in the front, and then you drill this hole here, this one here. Of course, this one rubber plug goes through there, so that one was easy to drill. Once you get these two in, you know, you got the bolt going through the control arm kind of snug, not tight, and then you put your two holes in here, or bolts in here. That gives you a pattern to drill these other two. And then once everything's tightened up, I got the bolts here. I just need to get the right size washers. I didn't have correct ones. They don't send washers with it for some reason, and I like to have washers on it. So I'm gonna go to the hardware store and get some washers, and then I'll need some for this also. These are 7/16 bolts. They just go straight up through the top. You see the holes in the bracket that goes in there, and then the holes that come through here. The way I do it, put these two in first, and then I drill this one, because these will kind of hold it down so you can get the top one drilled. And then once I put a bolt in here and get it, you know, somewhat tight, having the wrench hold it between there so I can tighten it from the bottom. And then I can drill this hole, because if you try to drill this hole without having something holding it down here, the plate's going to move, and your drill's going to come out down here somewhere, because the plate is going to tend to push out when you're trying to push on it to drill. So have the bolt hold it down here, and then drill this hole last. And then once everything's, you know, I get washers on everything, get everything tightened down good, I'll clean it off and run a couple of beads around little spots, kind of tack, well, you know, not tack weld it, but just a little bead here and there. Obviously I can't put anything on that, but and I don't want to weld all the way around it, because that's going to make the metal brittle because of all the heat on it. So just little spots here and there, lay a little 1-inch bead, something like that, just to give a little more strength to it. And then while I've got the welder in here, I'll take and fill all these little holes here and there that they drilled in the factory. And then we'll show you what the bottom looks like in a second. Hold on. Alright, poof, just like magic, sort of, only no special effects. On the bottom, I put this vice grip on here to hold that bottom bolt in, so I can get a nut started on it. But the bottom ones are the toughest to drill, because you're going through this metal, this plate, and then this one down here at the bottom, and then two other ones. So it's like there's a good amount of metal you got to drill through. And like I said, these are 3/8 bolts here on the bottom, so you got to make sure you got some good drill bits on hand, because I spray I got a spray bottle under here. That's that. I got a mixture of Marvel Mystery Oil and transmission fluid. That's what I use when I'm porting stuff. Keep the bits cool. But there you can see what that looks like. Like I said, I need to get washers. I had a couple, but not the right ones. I cleaned a little bit while I was under here. That's what it looked like. This is what it looks like now. I just used got yet another spray bottle with a mixture of Simple Green and Zep driveway cleaner and a little Dawn soap. It works pretty good. I got to hit it a couple of times, and I got one of the old lady's old pans with a scrub brush, like so. Just spray the stuff on there, let it soak for a minute, and then brush on it, and then just rag, just like so, just regular rag you get at Sam's Club, and it turns out pretty decent. Just time and elbow grease. It makes it easy if you do. To me, have the bottom of the car cleaned off, so if you do have a leak, like I had your transmission or pinion seal or whatever, you can see it right away versus just having new oil or whatever mixed with the old stuff that's been caked on there. So now I'm trying to hold this somewhat steady while I'm pointing that stuff, but you can see here still have to cut that off, emergency brake cable, and then this bracket too. Same on the other side. Get those out of the way because we're not going to need any of that stuff. We're going to have emergency brakes, but it's going to be the newer style cables for the disc brakes, and then get rid of the gas line, V6 fuel line, and put V8 fuel line on it, and then put the bracket. I think it goes up here somewhere for the brake line, for the V8 the way they are than the 4-cylinder V6 cars. Get that taken care of, swap out the fuel pump, and we'll be done back here. Alright, so I'll show you what this looks like once it's all done and welded. Probably will be tomorrow, but through the magic of no editing, it'll all be one lengthy, boring piece. Later, fellas. Alright guys, almost done. Wanted to show you this here first. This is a bushing like this. Gosh darn it, slippery booger. Anyway, that goes on here, rides through the front heim joint of your lower control arms. The factory bolt, I think up to 98 are 12 millimeter, and then from 99 to 04 they're 14 millimeter. But you see on here how much slop there is. The factory bolt, you can see a little raised part there. That goes through that's in contact with like your torque box, the part of the unibody, and then right there you see where that's been wearing down the threads. It's because the surface area of the threads are what that's what rides on the other side of the torque box, and your control arm is going to sit in there. So what I do, ditch those things, get a grade 8 bolt that's going to fit in there, and so the shank of the bolt is actually what's going to come in contact with the unibody part, your bolt hole. So it gives it a lot more surface area and less prone to wear. Keep in mind, this was just with a V6 car with automatic on street tires. Probably never been really raced hard. If I'm going to put like I'm putting slicks on here and 5,000 plus RPM launches, I don't want that. I want some of this. So these are going in, and then I'll show you, instead of waiting until I get done with the welding on the Capri, I'll show you what the inside of the red car looks like, so you get an idea what it should look like when it's done, or at least how I do it. Alright, and get out there and do that bit. Alright, this is the red car. Like I said, that's what it looks like when it's done the way I do it. I just put some little stitch welding on the side, and yes, I know my welding sucks. I bought a welder and I learned to weld. So that's why they look like that. But they haven't come apart yet, so I got that going for me. And yeah, I know it's dirty. I took the dog to the vet the other day and there's like dog hair all over the place. But that's well it looks, and like I said, you want to try to drill straight up with your holes. These are these are 7/16 bolt, but I use a 29/64 drill bit, a little bigger than what they offer, so it gives you a little wiggle room to putting the bolts in. And then these down here are 3/8. Like I said, make sure you got a good drill bit, because you're going through like 3 layers of metal plus the plate. So you'll be there a little while doing it. All right, so that's pretty much it. This ought to wrap up this long video. There's going to be like 5 segments, a couple 3 minutes each. Got to be pretty boring. Probably the longest one I've done. But just wanted to show you how that's done. I know a lot of guys are asking, how do you do this? How do you do that? And the way I do it, maybe not always the best way, but they seem to work as far as durability. And that's the main thing, is being able to drive it home from the track. All right, appreciate y'all. See ya.